Do you feel, I mean, I feel this, but I'm an outsider. Do you feel that bridal fashion with clothes and now even with jewelry is the core of what you do and it's your backbone in terms of at least sales and numbers?
No, actually we are going to be moving away from bridal. It is not going to be our biggest, it's not going to be our biggest business. And I'll tell you the reason why. When a slew of these big weddings happened in India, including the big Bollywood weddings, the big industrial weddings, everybody said that, there is going to be a very big reinvention of bridal wear in this country. Weddings are going to get more and more and more opulent, but that is not the case anymore, Pranaya. I'll tell you the reason why. So I have many women who I meet at airports and probably in hotel lobbies, and they ask me only one thing. They said, can you help me? I said, why? I'm very stressed, I have acidity, I can't sleep at night. I said, why? Daughter's refusing to get married. I'm like, all right. And how old is the daughter? She's 32, biological clock is ticking. I don't even know if she's going to have children because, we used to get married when we were 17, 18, 19, 20. And I was like, okay. And what does your daughter do? She's an entrepreneur. I said, where did she go to study? Oh, she went to Stanford. I'm like, So you give your daughter the power and the privilege to go in the world outside, see the best of the world, train her and encourage her and nurture her to be independent, be an independent thought leader, and then you expect her to come and bake cakes and make children and get subjugated to a man. I said, that's not going to happen anymore. And today, you see, there are other politics at play. There was a time when in India, you established social hierarchy with the power of money. But for the younger generation in this country, social hierarchy is being established by purpose and money has no role to play. So I have a lot of girls who come into my stores who come from very privileged and very rich backgrounds. But they tell their parents, firstly these girls don't even come with their chacha, chachi, nana, nani, parents, nobody. She and the boyfriend, and sometimes the boyfriend is also not important, maybe a girlfriend, and she'll come in wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and she'll swipe her Black American Express card, buy the lehenga and tell her that, listen, I can't come for fittings because I have a board meeting. Can you send the outfit home? If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't fit, my tailor will do something about it. So there is no trials, there are no bridezillas, because they are busy building businesses. Because why should business be just the privilege of a man? It should be the privilege of a woman. Today we are discussing, the world has moved on so much that we are discussing about maternity leave for men. They said that why should women have to spend 6 months at home nursing a child when a man should do it too? Maybe the woman is a higher earner in the family and she has a bigger job, so the husband can change nappies. Why should the woman do it? And I think when you have these kind of cultural dynamics in a country that is slowly evolving and becoming very, very modern, you will take up your past heritage and bring it with you, but if that heritage becomes archaic, there's no need of that heritage anymore. Because I think the only way heritage can be relevant if it becomes dynamic. Girls and boys today, firstly, there is no gender inequality anymore because boys and girls are being raised by parents, school children, today we discuss things like pronouns. I don't even know what that means anymore. And many of you who have children and grandchildren will realize that they speak a language that you don't speak anymore, but they're smarter. And as society becomes more smart, more confident, and women have more agency, a lot of these women will say, if you want to do that 10,000 people wedding, I'll probably attend your reception, at the reception as a guest. You can do it for your friends and family. Me and my friends are having a small wedding. If you want, you're invited. If you're not, I'm very happy to have the marriage by myself. And I think that is the true evolvement of feminism.
I mean, I agree with you, but do you think the huge wedding industry in India is going to be very sad if this is the way it's heading? A lot of our business in luxury and fashion comes from the wedding season, quote unquote, right?
So Pranaya, what happens is when society decides to change and human evolution starts taking place, we as individual people have no power to change it if society decides to change for the better. But a lot of new businesses will evolve. I think the food business, the travel business, hospitality, businesses which are made with experience. People will start going to theatre again. I think parties will come back again. What had happened in India was we had only one place to spend money and demonstrate our culture, and that was only weddings. And in many cases, it created a toxic environment for men and women who were getting married. But I think there will be more such things. Like, I'll give you a simple example. Let's take Bombay, for example. When I was a young student a fashion student, and I just broke into the circuit, I remember going into one of the legendary parties of Parmeshwar Godrej. I was very shocked. It was an eye-opener. And men and women in various states of undress sitting on beautiful kilims and carpets and everything, smoking and drinking and socializing. Everybody was impeccably dressed. And then much later, those parties happened with Raja and Queenie Dodi. Today, they don't happen anymore. Where do you go? You go to your friend's house for dinner, you sit in your home and watch Netflix in your pajamas, or you go to a wedding dressed up. I think the world is going to become far more social, and I think there will be different evolution of entertainment that will happen. Like, I remember when I was in Calcutta, there used to be legendary parties. Those parties have died down too. Except for Diwali parties, I don't see much of winter parties happening anymore. Because I think somewhere down the line, post-COVID, we thought that everybody's going to turn back and socialize. I think the internet killed a lot of that for us. Because why you go to a wedding is because you say it's religious, it's cultural, it's social obligation. But human beings need to have a chance to be happy apart from weddings. I don't think we as Indians are very celebratory. We are very proud of our culture. But weddings cannot be the only way we express it. There'll be many other things, and it's already happening. I think tourism. I meet so many people today at airports, and they keep saying that we are going for a gorilla walk, or we are going for tea tasting or wine tasting, and there will be many forms of it coming out in many ways. And the good thing is that fashion will come back.
Yeah.
When the parties come back, fashion will come back again.
I mean, starting with your 25th anniversary show and party, you're bringing that back as well. Let's talk about this 25th anniversary show. It was stunning. Of course, it was an ode to Calcutta. When you walked in, you were transported. I felt like I was in the most beautiful movie set that I could be in. Which movies is something I want to come back to as well. But I noticed. I mean, of course, the collection was very chic, but I noticed that there are not a lot of Indian looks. And there are not a lot of Indian silhouettes. Does that have to do with everything we just spoke about? Because you think that the industry and our culture, and we're evolving away from weddings?
No, you see, I've never ever said that we are a fashion house. I say that we are a design house or we are a lifestyle brand. Sometimes you need to do a show when you're saying something new. I don't even do runway shows anymore because most of the customers who come back to me, they come back for the same thing over and over again. If you look at my pictures on the internet, I have this jacket from Kanali. I bought it about 15 years ago. I live in 5-star hotels. Laundry is very good. The jacket never gave away. And if you can look your best in one outfit, why do you need to wear a second one every day? So I wear the same thing everywhere. I don't even have to think. My wardrobe is in uniform. And then if you look at the Indian customer, they're very practical and pragmatic. I think the good thing about the Indian customer is they're probably the smartest customers in the world. Many of you women will probably agree to that. Once you find a blouse sleeve length that is perfect for you, it'll probably stay with you for 20 years. Once you find a silhouette that is good for you, it'll stay with you for 20 years. And many people don't understand that, what has fashion done? For the longest time, fashion has made money by feeding on people's insecurities, by constantly telling them that you're not good enough. So today they will say, if you are not wearing a short skirt, you're out of fashion. So when you have a short skirt, they'll say if you don't have a long skirt, you're out of fashion. But the Indian customer is like, wait a minute, I'm not that big an idiot. I don't need to belong to that club. Because for me, what is very, very important is that I define my identity. And I also say that, the only way to be iconic is through repetition. And if you look at all the women, who are the biggest style icons in the world, whether it's Madonna, whether it's Jackie Kennedy, whether it's Rekha Ji, whether it's our dear own Usha Uthup, They have all been style icons because they want the same look over and over and over again. What fashion does is fashion makes you one of many. It tells you a lie by saying that, I am going to give you a unique identity. But what it does, it homogenizes you. You buy one Dior dress, 15 million people are wearing the same dress. You wear one jacket from Chanel, thousands of people are wearing the same thing. How does it create an identity? An identity is created never by a brand, but by a consumer. Because the consumer will say, this is what I like, this is what I wear. And today, I don't have to do a runway show for the next 20 years in my life. Because the consumer who comes into the Sabya store does not even need my Instagram or my marketing. They know exactly what they want to buy. And they're absolutely happy buying the same thing over and over again because it's their identity that they have found with the brand and not what we have created for them.
So what was the inspiration then for the 25th year collection? I saw a very lovely video where you were taking Suzy Menkes through every piece. But what was the idea behind it? I mean, I can see a lot of women in New York rock that collection. A lot of women all over India as well.
The show was to set a lot of biases right. We had a lot of international journalists. We had a lot of very important managing directors and from some of the most important luxury houses. We had a lot of top customers from all over the world. And I was like, India does not have one narrative. India is not a land of snakes and peacocks and elephants and snake charmers or kings and queens or Bollywood. This is a country which has IT, this is a country which has medicine, this is a country which has performing arts, this is a country which is very, very cultural and very sophisticated. And somewhere down the line, in the age of influence, when certain sections of India take precedence over others that do not shout from the rooftops, this is what people believe India to be. I wanted to set that right once and for all by saying, don't put India in a corner because you don't even understand the country. So when a lot of people came to see the show, they were very shocked. They said, oh, we didn't think that this could exist in India, or this could be so sophisticated, or this could be so exuberant. There are luxury brands all over the world trying to posture, but India does not need posturing because there is so much available in this country. And I'm a very proud Calcuttan, that's why Calcutta was on the map on that show, and I'm also very proud, almost arrogant Indian, because I say that, it takes you a while to understand the game. What happens is, if you see, I don't know if you've seen this story, if you've seen this Disney movie called I think it's called The Ant Story. There's a colony of ants. They work very hard to get their food, and there are millions and millions and millions of them. They go in the morning, they come back in the evening, they're fighting and making a food colony for themselves. And there are 10 grasshoppers who are probably 500 times their size, who come every time, and they take the food away. And then one baby grasshopper asks his father, we are only 10 of us, and there are 10 million. How do we take up the food away? The father whispered to the grasshopper, said, don't ever say this because they don't know they're 10 million. And this is India's problem. If India starts believing in itself, and I think somewhere down the line, today look at what's happening with the country. Whether we like to believe it or not, we have a very strong, aggressive political stand in the world. The whole world is looking at us, hoping that we are going to change their fortunes because China has failed and India's economics is still very strong. When a country that has been overlooked for a very long time, our backs have been broken by colonialism, and we have stopped believing in who we are, when we start finally rising and we start suddenly feeling a sense of nationalism, it's an unstoppable country, and that's the nationalism that I wanted to kind of put out to a lot of people watching the show, a lot of people in the show, and a lot of young designers. I come from a very middle-class family, Purnia. I had no godfathers, nothing. And if a young child sitting in one small part of India says, if he can go to the top with just hard work and idealism, so can I. It gives people a lot of hope, and that is what I wanted to instill in people. And I'll tell you one more thing, that India stops short of excellence very quickly because we think that there's no end game to it. But once we all start getting united, we start collectively raising our voices, this is going to become a very, very powerful country, and I think Indians need to wake up and recognize that.
Thank you. It was a lovely answer. Now that we've touched upon your personal style and how you like to wear the same thing again and again, and it's quite, I would say, you're a minimalist when it comes to your personal style, but your design language, whether it is spaces or clothes or jewelry, is extremely maximalist. How does this work? How does a person who likes to be so simple in his personal dressing, his vision when it comes out is so exuberant and it's completely following a maximalism feel?
Many reasons. This is a person that I am, that's a job that I do. When I come back home and I wear my Uniqlo t-shirt and pajamas, I become Sabyasachi the man and Sabyasachi the designer. Secondly, I grew up nurtured by two very exceptional women, my two grandmothers. My father's mother, who came as a refugee from Bangladesh, she had 5 children, didn't get married, very, very strong and severe and staunch, and very spiritual. And my mother's mother, who was completely and thoroughly spoiled, was very rich, had many rice mills, but had a heart of gold. One taught me the power of minimalism, the other taught me the possibilities that maximalism could give. And I think somewhere down the line, I enjoyed both. But, you always build great businesses with detachment. If you become the business, then you never have an objective view of what the business needs. And I'm glad that I have a very objective minimalism and a very subjective maximalism. So I make sure that both of these don't ever cross each other's lines.
Very good advice. This is for people, who sometimes don't know how to draw the line. Maybe that's me sometimes. Very good advice.
You see, there are two things. Yeah. You are either an artist or you're a businessman. And I'm always a businessman first. I do the art of business, but it's business at the end of the day. For me, when when I was growing up, my father was working in a jute mill. A lot of the jute got perished in West Bengal because it got replaced by plastic. And he couldn't find a job. And I saw how a middle class family could get devastated by the issue of unemployment. Because my father used to do tuitions, my mother used to do tuitions, I used to do tuitions, a family of 4 scrambling to stay alive. And in West Bengal, if you see the best jewelry carvers in the world, in the country, they're all from Bengal. They've all left Bengal because there was no business here. If you see the best craftsmanship in this country, they're all, the carvers are from Bengal. Many of them have migrated because they couldn't find jobs here. And I want to take the next 25 days and being able to change that and bring about a cultural, social, and industrial revolution in craft in this country. Because the idea is there are many women sitting here who employ a lot of artisans, and they work with some of the best brands all over the world. And I think together what we are doing is we are creating reverse migration, because for me, I have a very simple agenda. While I build a brand that is going to continuously show the mirror to the West as to how important we are as I won't even call India a nation, I call India a civilization. And I've always said that I've never ever thought India was a third world country. I've thought India as a first world civilization, because history comes before commerce. And I think when you create that revolution, my biggest agenda is to be able to create jobs. For me, if I have a choice of buying a car and buying a factory, I would prefer to buy a factory, because it helps me to create more and more employment, and I